Good morning, it's Monday, February 26, 2024, 9 a.m. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Nathan, a second by Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item 3 is discussion of possible action to approve an application for a 24-25 Iowa Burn Justice Grant in the amount of $258,855.19 with County Sheriff Quinn Reese. Good morning, Quinn.
I think we talked a little bit earlier. This is a grant that we've received for years. This is just a new application for it. So
This is, I recall we typically are awarded some amount on this, but
average is out about 60. I think is what we ask for the moon, but we get
what we
a
get.
fraction of what we asked for. So
I'll move.
I have a motion by Danny,
Second.
second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Quinn. Item number 4 is action to accept for publication the Muscatine County Treasurer's Semi-Annual Report for July 1st, 2023 through December 31, 2023.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, items with County Attorney Brian Horowski. Item A is discussion.
County engineer.
Oh, did I say attorney? Well, I just promoted you to the attorney.
Well.
Or is it a demotion?
You can go
County
now,
engineer.
we're done with you.
Discussion and possible action to approve resolution 02-26-2401 authorizing weight embargoes on secondary roads in Muscatine County.
Yes, so this resolution, it's more or less an annual. We have no roads right now that we plan to embargo. It's just more to have it in place if the weather goes sour. So more or less if it starts raining a lot this spring, we'll have it in place.
Nancy, I thought this was, we didn't put this on with our kind of normal early January resolutions. Is it? Okay. Okay.
I'll move.
I have a motion by Danny,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote. Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's all I
Anything
have.
else, Brian? That's
That's all I
it?
have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 6, discussion possible action to approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2024 regular meeting and the February 21st, 2024 joint Muscatine City Council, Muscatine County, and Muscatine School District meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nathan, second by Danny. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? I thought we had good attendance at the, for public on the, housing study,
They was pretty pleased with the attendance.
Absolutely.
yeah, so, that was good. All right, correspondence, Nathan.
Oh, I did not have any correspondence to note.
All I had to note was, we received correspondence from Chris Jasper about a levy safety town hall that'll be held, I forget the date right off the top of my head, but, there'll be a publication, it'll be out at the Discovery Center. Apparently this is, Homeland Security doing this throughout Iowa.
I had a conversation with Greg Blazing about his partial, about trying to build a home out there. I spoke briefly with Eric about it, and that's where that's at. That's all I had.
Kurt?
Same email that you had, Jeff, on the levy meeting on the 14th.
Okay. How about committee reports, Kurt?
Wednesday the 21st, we were all there at the Muscatine City County School. And then Saturday the 24th, attended the Muscatine County Fair fundraiser. Good attendance, very good start to their new building.
I see the Kents donated $500,000.
Yeah.
How, I don't remember what their goal was, 2 million on that?
I don't know if they've settled on a total goal yet. I mean, I think they keep bumping a little bit as they go, Jeff. It was 1.8, I think is what they started, but I think they're closer to 2 now. But they had very good attendance and
Good.
it's a good time.
I had, joint session on the 21st that we all attended, and on the 23rd, attended that Chamber of Commerce business forum with our elected officials, state officials.
I had the same, I had the 21st, I had the joint meeting, the business forum on the 23rd. I also attended on the 20th. There was a business after hours with they had an open house for the new Chamber Economic Development Muscatine. A nice space up above Pearl Plaza, so I attended that. That's it.
I would also note, I think we all got that email that Jeff referred to, from Chris Jasper. As for meetings, I had, was the joint session on Wednesday the 21st. On Wednesday the 21st, I also had the Wilton Economic, Development meeting. And, we were going to have the commissioner, or the VA commission meeting, but, it was canceled the last minute due to inability to get a quorum. So, that's what I had.
Okay. Items with the administration office. Item A is action to accept February 2024 payroll claims.
So moved.
Motion by Nathan. Second by Kurt. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Anything else, Nancy?
The only other thing I have is I had talked to you guys last week about the community action of Eastern Iowa. The Muscatine County Board of Supervisors appoints someone, and you want a little more information about it. So they have a 15-member governing board that's made up of consumers, community partners, and elected official representatives. It's a nonprofit that's funded mostly by state and federal grants. The biggest thing they do is they run Head Start for Clinton, Scott, Cedar, and Muscatine counties. And then they have a number of other programs that are basically to provide assistance to folks in the community. They meet only on the odd months, and it's the fourth Thursday at 5 p.m. in Davenport. It can either be attended in person or remotely. And then he also said there's some training that's provided.
Who was our previous designee?
It was Deb Elliott. She had done it for quite a while. Back quite a few years back, it was a board member. One of the board members sat on that, and then the board no longer had an interest in doing it. So typically the Head Start CEO would help us find an appropriate appointee, which he's willing to do again if one of the board members isn't interested in serving.
I don't have a problem with her looking again. I guess I don't know exactly what all they do, so is it important to maybe have them report to us on some of the things once in a while, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an area out, Head Start. I'm not very familiar with the program and all of those, and I wonder if it would be best if we just participated for a bit.
I'll do it.
I could do that. I mean, 5 o'clock on a third Thursday is not a big deal for me.
Well, I've had a few of my committees kind of shut down, so I'd be happy to do it. I've got a little bit of an education background.
Yeah, it'd be good with your school board
Yeah.
experience, maybe. You can-
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, all right.
Because one thing I'm finding in some of my other committees is connecting to the schools is difficult to say.
Yeah.
And so if we have somebody here that can drive those connections, I think that's always good to reach out to our
All right, so I'll put this on the agenda next Monday just for the formal action
For
to
an
do it.
appointment.
But I'll reach out and notify them.
And would you forward me anything I need to? I know
Yep.
you will.
Happy to do so.
And I didn't mention Nancy, but I did accept we had talked about that, Nancy, you and I accepted the invite by the Robert Young Center to join their board. They're doing some investing in the community, and they wanted somebody on their board local. So I have accepted that, and I will be joining their board. Well, assuming they approve me coming on their board, so.
Nice.
In the next month or so, we'll see what happens, cause they're opening, I don't know if you saw there's a lot of talk, and that came up in the legislative forum, and you see there's a lot of these, I'm not gonna do the alphabet soup, HSBCC, or some of these community-based mental health. And Iowa was given grant money, to be another one of 13 states that are getting this. And, Robert Young Center was one of the 11 respondents in Iowa that was given that. So that the bottom line is what this designation does is it gives providers a more opportunity to access funding for services, not direct service. So for example, they can get reimbursed for transportation needs for people and some other things. So I'm learning a little bit more about that. Actually, I just got a letter, I forgot about that, from an email this weekend from the Community Foundation. Senator Ernst's office has reached out and would like to sit down and talk about that program on a federal level. So I'm probably gonna respond to that and accept that invitation as well, and kinda understand where they're going and give our feedback, so.
That's awesome.
Okay. All right, anything else, Nancy?
I don't have anything else.
So item number 10 is to receive information from county employees. Any county employees want to share with the board?
You wanted me to talk about that?
Yes.
Everybody get,
I don't,
come to all you guys?
You know what? I did get something about pipelines now that I think about it.
yeah,
I think I read through
Robert
it a
at
little
Free
bit.
Soil, is that the thing?
yeah, I think it came into our email. We received 2 emails from an advocacy group, I'll call it, in Iowa, where county supervisors were basically sending a number of documents related to pipelines and pipeline safety and pipeline siting and all that. And as people in Muscatine County probably aren't as aware, but there are currently CO2 pipelines proposed in Iowa, and they're trying to use eminent domain to do access and siting of these, and it's causing a lot of controversy. I know, windmill, you've talked with us about that. So I sent the information to Eric, and I asked him if he would research it a little bit and then come back to us with kind of what are they talking about, and what do you think we really need to do?
I think we need to, certainly address it within our comp plan update in our zoning ordinance. Currently, hazardous gas pipelines are not mentioned or regulated in our zoning ordinance, and it does appear that they could be. Yes, there's some authority that the Iowa Utilities Board has when eminent domain comes into play or approving these pipeline projects. The question as to whether or not there is, how much or if there is local control from a zoning perspective is, in my mind, not yet answered. There's ongoing litigation with counties in Iowa and some of these pipeline companies, particularly, I think, a new one with Shelby County and this CO2 pipeline company. But it does appear that code would allow us under 335 to treat them like any other land use.
There is some current legislation going through that
Yeah.
kind of, is dealing with this on, it sounded like that if you had a concern, they could take it to the district court in Polk County or something? I didn't quite understand that.
Well, I think if you look at federally, what it sounds like, I'm not gonna use the acronym of the organizations responsible for that, but there's a pipeline safety. And the pipeline, we can't have anything as it relates to pipeline operation and safety, which I don't think we're experts in, but we can talk about land use and public infrastructure, and I expect, it's kind of like I think we've dealt with in the county engineer's office over the years. When things are going in right of ways and such, we need good documentation as to where it is and what it is. And I think that's probably even a fair statement. If it's a hazardous audit, then it's on private property that we would know about that. So if there's any conflicting development or anything, we would be aware of it at least.
Well, I think one of the issues too is, from a long-term planning goal, is to protect the expected development buffer areas around existing incorporated towns. This more recently became, an issue that we started considering with wind farm proposals or even solar. because these things are not done by subdivision, where the utility companies or pipeline companies are actually buying the land, they just lease it. So there's no review authority by the local P and Z or the city council, where these things could potentially develop right up to their existing corporate limits. You know, they have some review authority if it's a subdivision of land where they could approve or not. But if a farmer just leases, or any other type of landlord leases all their ground, you could envision a small town or a town of any size literally being encircled with either wind, solar, or even underground hazard gas pipelines, and essentially retarding their growth for the next 50 years. You're expecting annexation plans. And so I think thinking long-term, really turning up the voltage on the light that is these surrounding areas is a good thing. Like, hey, we need to observe these growth areas, because that is good managed growth, right? I mean, we've discussed that a lot. It makes more sense to encourage development in existing city limits where there's city water, city sewer, or where it will be rapidly extended out to. In a lot of cases, it makes more sense to locate. So we have to allow for growth, and we can't be short-sighted and be, allowing these things to just be constricted where there's no opportunity for that.
And I think that was the point of a lot of what I heard from they said, definitely your comp plan, and definitely look at that buffer zone around your cities. Because you don't wanna have something, there's all kinds of things that could go there, power lines, whatever, high voltage lines. And they cast a shadow over the land use below them, or around them, that you need to be aware of at least. And I think that's probably wise that our comp plan, at least so the developers, as they're coming in there, they know they need to communicate with the local authority.
Yeah. So I think we probably should make some updates to the ordinance, not just CO2, but any hazardous gas pipeline should have some minimum setbacks. Some thought should be put into their routing to the extent we are in control of that. But certainly, there's mechanisms in the code, I think. They'll probably be challenged, but I don't think that's solid enough reason to just do nothing.
Well, we could ask this be put on Magic too, right? I mean, tracking those.
That's probably gonna meet with some resistance. I'm just guessing because of, they're somewhat marked, but like from a terrorism prevention, I don't know how public they want, some of these things. I know even MP&W is pretty quiet with like where some of their water mains are located. It's not publicly available. We ran into that on the sheriff's department trying to help them find a hydrant one time for a, can't we GPS all these? No, we don't want to do that because.
Let's not hide the left hand so much from the right hand. We forget what either hand's doing.
So I'm just possibly, but proposed routes of projects would certainly have to be made, should be made public. Because, we're envisioning that people potentially leasing their property to a gas pipeline company would have to come in and get a special use permit, so that we can take a look at separation distances. What are the concerns of our local EMS organizations that may have to respond to these things? Are they equipped? That's one of the big concerns as these cross rural areas, is these small departments, if there's a rupture or a major leak, are they really adequately equipped? So the equipment needs to be EMA coordination,
carbon dioxide isn't explosive, but the pressure on which it's under could.
It's not explosive, but if it releases in a heavy enough concentration, it's all the oxygen's gone and you can asphyxiate rather quickly.
That's true.
And if you survive, there can still be long-term. So it's not completely safe in high concentrations, for sure. So, but take a look. If you didn't get the article, I'll send it. We can forward it on to you.
Did that go to the board? I can't
I
remember.
thought.
There was some.
I saw it.
It was, it came to the Board of Supervisors, cause it was from supervisors from other counties that blasted it throughout the Iowa. So we should have all seen it, and I just wanted to make everybody aware that I did send it to Eric, and I asked him to research it and make sure that, if it's things he felt we needed to address, to make sure we address.
Yeah, I think it was in that email. If you got it from Robert at Free Soil something or other.
Yeah, there were two.
It's called the Kenkel article, I think.
Yep.
That's, the Kenkel article was the supervisor that wrote, but there was a bunch of other documents with it too.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It's another rabbit hole to go down. Okay. Any other county employees? I don't know if you've researched these CO2 pipelines and what they're doing, but it's interesting to say the least. Okay, so, next item is to receive comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board an issue not on the agenda? Okay, item 12 is ongoing 24-25 budget deliberations. What's that about? Huh?
Do you wanna take a break at all, or you wanna go right into it?
I don't care. Do you want to, do
What do we
need a
have to
break?
deliberate? Like how much?
We'll talk about what was findings on the audit, and then the levy, the
Okay.
tax levy.
You wanna just plow through?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just plow through.
Alright, and you guys wanna get your budget books out, I updated.
Sure. Yeah, this is a test, see if y'all win.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely heavier than it was.
24-25 budget. Got it.
Okay, so if you wanna flip to the funding summary page, and then just flip past the first two folded pages. And then you're gonna have the Muscatine County schedule of findings. And that there is gonna show a finding on local option sales tax. So basically what this is saying is that we haven't been tracking it to give 100% rural tax relief. So what I did, if you flip to the next page, was it has a lot of information on this, but what this is tracking that we are giving 100% tax relief. So what it tracks is if we were to levy the max, which is 3.95, and then we calculate out what we budget for local option sales tax, we can also calculate out rural supplemental, which would be the secondary roads and zoning benefits, FICA, IFRS. We can take that amount out, but then it gives us the amount that we need to reduce the levy in order to give that 100% tax relief. So what our plan was to levy that 2.88 of what we've been at. We're gonna have to drop it down now to 2.7 in order to comply with this ballot wording, which was to give 100% tax relief.
And this started as, first off, they didn't bring this up until long after they'd been here.
Yeah.
And we basically have a disagreement about how you define the language in our referendum for the lost funds. What we say is it's gonna be used 100% for rural tax relief.
Right.
Which we argue that 100% of what we get, we put into secondary roads. And by doing that, it is 100% tax relief because it's for projects and dollars spent that we don't have to tax for.
Don't have to tax for it.
At a future point.
And they're
State-
saying you gotta
state
tax for it and
auditors-
show it as a credit.
State auditor says the max you can do is $395, and because of the way we're worded, we have to subtract out, the equivalent of what we're getting from local option.
The state auditor, who's neither an auditor nor a lawyer, is gonna tell us what our referendum means.
Well, we went round and round about it, and responded with some pretty vigorous pushback. But as we got farther into it, we find there was a case in, I don't remember what county it was,
I was gonna say it was Story County.
that they ended up with in a budget hearing for somebody wanted to reduce their budget, and during that process, basically that's how a judge, I don't know if it was
Department of Management decided
ruled.
that that's what that wording meant.
And it was
So you
it was
need
identical to
reduce
ours.
your levy.
Yeah, so at
Was
that
probably
point,
worded.
it became clear, we can continue to argue this, but we're not gonna win it.
And
So-
that finding's gonna be
Did
on
Jim
this
si-
audit
did
every year
Jim
if we
review
don't take
this?
care of it.
Yeah, we've talked to Jim about it.
So the question is, can you restate your referendum too?
You put it back on the ballot,
Yeah,
So I mean, is
could.
that,
When's it
because,
up next?
because this is kinda nonsense, right?
35?
it is kinda nonsense, by implementing it this year,
It's a wealth transfer.
it's really not hurting us.
Yeah, so I put the numbers in here for you guys, that we would be reducing the levy, 19 cents, but then we're still able to maintain a 35% fund balance if we take this.
So
And
if,
frankly, going forward, We'll certainly take a look at, we basically have to estimate what the local option sales tax is gonna be when we do our budgeting process. Because we don't have any information about that yet. We'll certainly take a closer look at that and make sure that it gets us where we want it to be.
So the upshot of the way they're interpreting our referendum, if I understand correctly, is all the money that's paid for the local option sales tax. Everybody who buys something and pays a tax. That money then just goes to offset taxes from people who would otherwise be paying them in the rural levies.
Yes.
So
From
the wealth
property
transfer.
taxes?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's using sales tax to reduce someone else's property tax.
Correct.
essentially, yeah.
Well, this
a crop.
this kind of reminds me of the conversation we had at the mental health region, where we were doing all kinds of gyrations to try to meet these arbitrary caps. The bottom line is, none of us know when we budget what the local option sales tax receipts will be.
Absolutely no idea.
So why don't we just change our estimate
That's
to
just,
fit our budget?
that's just what I was saying.
Okay,
As in future years, as we budget,
we'll just change our estimate.
we'll pay close
Right,
attention
and
to
then-
how that affects the budget.
And I had mentioned that, and their comment was then you make up for it the next year.
Of course, but
That's fine. Yeah, I don't have less of a problem doing it year in reverse. I mean, I have a problem with changing something that was a revenue increaser to an enforced wealth transfer by something that's clearly outside of our intent. I mean, it sounds like welfare to me, but you know.
yeah, it just makes zero sense because it's not we don't know the number going in, you know, we know assessed values, we don't know local option sales, and if we
Yeah.
push the 100% of the dollars, so Kayla, if we go into a budget with local option sales tax and we have, let's say we're budgeting 1.8, and we have a great year, we collect 2.1, you know, what happens to the additional proceeds? Do we transfer that to secondary roads?
All local option sales tax gets transferred to secondary roads.
It's
Okay.
deposited into secondary roads.
So it would show up as but we'd do a budget amendment to pick up the additional revenue in secondary roads.
We could, yeah.
But
That's
it sounds
what
like
we-
we'd have to cut the levy the next year.
That's what they're suggesting. The
How long-
auditors, the
This is
state
just
auditors.
How long are these referendums?
This one goes, I wanna say to 30.
Are they like 15, 10, 20 years?
We re-upped it in 2019,
So 15, 16 year.
yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah,
We may want to consider restating this because this is a crock of crap.
well, and it isn't too late to get it on the
On this.
ballot for the general.
Yeah, we could get it on the general election this year, we could probably do it. You said it is too late?
It
No, it
always
is-
has to be
it-
50% tax relief though,
Okay.
but that,
But
that would be the only stipulation right
you're
now,
just
but-
arguing semantics about tax relief, we're
Yeah.
using it 100% for tax relief.
That's
Yeah,
It's
and
just
that's what
arguing
our
semantics is all you
argument
are.
to the state was, and
You're just trying to make it more confusing so the average taxpayer understands it less.
And
It just doesn't make any
frankly,
sense.
this is, something that the state auditors have latched onto. And there's gonna be a lot of counties that get this thrown at them, cause that was one of the things Kayla did when we first started this argument. She went out and looked at other counties who have wording similar to ours, and
out
That's-
of the maybe 15 I looked at, one was in compliance with it.
but this is gonna be something the state auditors have latched their teeth onto now, and the Department of Management has backed them in terms of defining that levy. So the smartest thing we can do is probably either put it on a referendum on the general to change that wording and figure out how that wording should be so it can't be misinterpreted, or we just look carefully at what our estimate is each year when we're putting our budget together.
Well, the problem I have is it's a flippant estimate. So you could say you're in compliance, but just by changing your estimate. It doesn't matter. That's just stupid.
Can we put something in the referendum that says except to the extent disallowed by applicable law, any ambiguity or disagreement in the interpretation of the terms of the referendum will be subject to the sole and final discretion of the Muscatine County Attorney's interpretation.
We can find that out if that's.
Because
Well,
this isn't that we're disobeying a law or that we haven't been in compliance with the law. This is some dude in Des Moines' interpretation of what we meant and what our voters meant.
Yep.
The other question I have, could we change our referendum to say that we would do the 100% tax release based on, 1 year in arrears? We would take last year's, collections, and that's what we'd provide 100% tax relief on this next year. And then you get out of this whole guessing game.
Yeah.
And then you pay catch up the following year. You just go, you
Yeah.
know, that's been my whole comment to the state for 20 years, is like, I don't know why you just don't bite the bullet, go to zero increase on your budget 1 year and then budget everything in arrears, and you don't have to have this big
Estimating conference.
you know, need an estimating conference, you don't need any of that garbage. You know what you took in last year?
Yep.
That's all you can spend next year. Easy. Why make it simple?
Des Moines and Jersey making our life hard.
Well, it's just, the problem is it becomes such a shell game.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes such a shell game that nobody has any hope of following what you're really doing, and I think that's part of the game they're trying to play. It's like, why don't you just make it simple? I got $1 in, I'm giving $1 in tax relief. And we're doing what the intent of the law.
Yeah.
So you've figured out something that puts us into compliance, and we can adopt it with this budget
And lower the tax levy.
and lower our levy. So we're gonna drop 19, we were going up, what, 50, we're gonna drop 19.
Well, that's substantial.
Yeah. And still, and then if you look, like I said, if you flip back to that first folded over page, that gives you the fund summary. So that is how we have everything in the budget right now, your expenditures, revenues, and then fund balance. And this is affecting the rural service, which is Fund 11, and we would still be at 35% fund balance.
So as a result of this, are we losing the ability to do anything we were gonna do with those rural service funds? Are we gonna take some projects off?
We had possibly some anticipated, expenses coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know that dollar amount yet.
Okay.
So it would have been nice to have a little bit of funding, extra funding in there in case,
But that's what, this would have been extra funding that we could have spent on those projects.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Alright. Yeah, let's revisit getting
Wanna
that thing
make this
restated.
change, or, because I need to start.
So we were going up 55, now we're taking another 20, no, we weren't doing 55, we're doing 40 some, we're taking another 18 cents off it. So we're taking 18 cents off what we were gonna do.
Yeah, it was a 4.2 or 5.2% increase total, now it's 4.2.
Alright.
Okay.
Do you need our, like, vote authorization for that, or?
No, there's no action to be taken, but just,
Consensus on it?
kind of finalizing the budget here, that you don't anticipate making any additional changes until after the public.
The only thing I wanted to, and maybe this is not really budget related, well, everything is, but the word we got last week on the levy project and kind of the way that all shaked out. How does that affect our financing plan on that?
So basically, it's just moving where we anticipated the funding. I don't know if all of you are aware, but
Did we lose EDA dollars?
we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, originally, we received a grant for about $3 million, $3.5 million for EDA funding, and we levied money, or, borrowed money to match that funding, so it was a $6 million project, essentially. This is for raising the levy. My understanding is the engineers, when they put it out for bid, the bids for that part of the project came in a lot less, so we're gonna get a lot less grant funding. So we're gonna have to move some of that matching funding over to the second part of the project, which is hardening.
Hardening the overtopping structure.
But that's in Louisa County, and there were some issues with it being in a different county, if I understood it right.
There's no
Well,
issues, I don't believe.
Well, the EDA doesn't, it's a different district
Yeah,
So we're not getting.
So we're not getting EDA funding
Yeah,
for that.
right,
It
We're
moves
using
it moves the funding.
yeah.
So it basically goes from, we were funding half to now we have to fund 100% of the one that went up, and with the one that went way down, we were funding 50%.
Right.
So so basically it swings back. To me, it looked like we lose like $1.6 million of EDA funding.
Right.
And where does that money come from is the question.
Where does,
Where does that 1.6 additional, well, the overall project went down a bit, right?
the overall project went down, and what we're doing is shifting funding, that match that we had, that $3 million match we were
That
gonna
we
use
borrowed?
towards the first
Yeah.
half of the funding, we're just gonna use that to the second half of the project
Okay,
now.
okay,
And ARPA funding that we already had set aside for it.
yeah, okay. So the
Half
ARPA,
the funding, it's just moving it around a little.
the ARPA's kind of bridging part of that gap.
Right.
So, I don't, I don't know if I shared that with everybody, I got a call into last week, that's kind of what got us debating this, and then Kayla said, oh, and, so they let the contract, the contracts have been let, 2 of them. Don't recall the contractor's name, it's an experienced contractor in this type of work. They were successful on.
Legacy, wasn't it?
Huh?
Legacy?
Legacy Contracting, they're out of Illinois, and they got both contracts, the raising of the levy and the other. And so which one was gonna be done by September anticipated? So bottom line is, we're gonna start seeing activity here is, I thought they said like March 12th, they anticipated having the contracts back from EDA and all approved and let, and they, as early as before the end of March, they'll start to be moving sand out of Deep Lakes Park and staging down on Maple Grove Road and in that area. And I think one of the 2 projects, let's just put it that way, I'll find it and I'll forward it to you guys. One of the 2 projects is estimated to be done in September and the other in October. So that,
The
all that,
hardening of the levee was September, and the raising was October.
yeah, so the hardening the overtopping structure was to be done in September, that's down in Louisa by the pump station. And then the raising would be done by October. Current estimate. Weather permitting, all kinds of things, you know. But it looks like it should be a good year to be doing this kind of project. I don't see anything in the forecast where we're gonna get a lot of water coming from the north, or they're pretty dry up there, so they should have good season to do it. Okay. What else?
Any other, that's all I have for the budget, just if you guys had any other questions on it, or if you feel we're sitting pretty good where we are.
I think I'm okay with everything.
Yeah, I think we're all right. Anything else? Anybody have? Okay, 9:38, meeting is adjourned.